Hey, it's your guy Tyrrell back with the interviews. El Clasico, no Cristiano Ronaldo, no Lionel Messi. Lopetegui's coaching job is on the line, but Barcelona crushed Real Madrid. How do they do it? Where did Real Madrid go wrong? Don't worry, here at the interviews, we've got you covered. So on this edition of the interviews, we're going to break down how Barcelona beat Real Madrid. So before we get to today's video, don't forget to give our video a thumbs up if you do enjoy it. The bell below does give you notifications regarding our organic, unfiltered soccer/footy analysis. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel. In today's video, we're going to break down how both sides look to approach the game, how Barcelona were able to gain control of the match and why Real Madrid struggled in the first half, and what changes Lopetegui made to help Real Madrid get back into the game before Barcelona ended their dreams in the second half. But first, let's get to the starting lineup. So we have Barcelona in a 4-3-3. No real surprises. Coutinho up front with Suarez and Rafinha. In midfield, it went with Busquets, Rakitic, and Arthur. Then we get to Real Madrid, 4-3-3, but without the ball, they moved into more of a 4-5-1, and Barcelona held possession for long spells of the first half, so Real Madrid were mostly a 4-5-1. They had Benzema up front, they had Bale and Isco out in wider areas, and in midfield, Casemiro, Cruz, and Modric. So we break down this game, we have to look how both sides approach the game, and whether Lopetegui or Valverde got it right, and how they got it wrong. So first, let's get to that and see how both sides approach the game in the first half. So when you look at the game and look how both sides approach the game, 4-3-3 against 4-3-3, which means that we're most likely expecting to get a very cagey battle as each man has a marker to man mark. When we look at it as a whole, both sides like to get their fullbacks forward. They want to get them involved in the game. They're key components to how they attack. Real Madrid are already at a disadvantage because Nacho isn't that player. He doesn't like to get forward. He's more of a center back. He had Coutinho running at him. When we look at Barcelona and how they were able to really gain control of the game, one of the factors was Jordi Alba was pivotal in that first half. He was running in behind Bale, and Coutinho's movement was really special here in the sense that Coutinho looked to often get in behind. If we saw the runner Nacho step into Alba, we would see Coutinho look to break in behind, and that would force center backs out, and that's how Real Madrid's backline kind of tears apart. If he stays in the defensive bank of four, what happens is that Coutinho tries to drag him out of position. If Bale's not tracking the run, that leaves Alba free to deliver crosses and combine in 2v1 situations. So that was one aspect of how they were able to control the game. The second aspect was that they were able to overload the midfield zone. Yes, you have Isco here, but Isco doesn't want to do the man marking of Sergio Roberto, who's looking to get forward. Even if Isco drops in, what they have here is they have the three, Rafinha dropping off into these spaces to ensure Marcelo's not going to track him all the time. So he's able to drop in the spaces in between Cruz and in between Isco, or he's able to tuck in between and find that space between the lines to offer something. And Coutinho could drop off as well away from Nacho. So what you have there is sometimes a 5v3, a 5v4. That ends up pulling markers out of position. And Barcelona were able to find so much space between the lines based off the fact that Real Madrid's pressing was very laggy. They were getting across to markers slow, and that allowed them to bypass any sort of attempt that they did try to press. And that was pivotal because that's how Barcelona were able to gain control of this match and create some of their better chances. When we look at Real Madrid, they didn't really have anything going for them. Barcelona did press them from the front at times. Suarez would often stick out to Ramos. You would have Arthur step out as the first man of the midfield, stepping out to Varane, and then they'd push out into the wider areas. And any two midfielders that dropped, we'd see Busquets and Rakitic step to them, with Alba being able to tuck in as an auxiliary, or Sergio Roberto tucking into those central areas if required. But that was how Barcelona went about their business. So when we think about it, how were Real Madrid creating chances? What chances did Barcelona create through Alba, through the movement of Coutinho, through the overloads of midfield? So we'll get to that first, and we'll start with Real Madrid and see how they were able to get forward and why did they struggle in that first half. So when we briefly look at Real Madrid's chances, a lot of them stem from the fact that they were able to break in transition and beat markers 1v1 to get into those opportunities, and a lot of it stemmed through Gareth Bale in the opening stages of the match. One of the early opportunities, you see Rafinha kind of step in to Marcelo. Marcelo's able to turn him with ease and play it into Isco, and what Isco sees here is Bale darting into that channel behind Roberto. Bale makes that run. What happens here now is that he goes 1v1 with Piqué, is able to play the pass back into Benzema, who's breaking in towards the box, but he skies his effort over the net. Once again, that's Bale making that run in behind Roberto, but it stems from the fact that Marcelo is able to beat Rafinha. Isco is able to find that pocket of space, and they're able to break through that right-hand side. We look at another opportunity for them, and what stems there is the fact that they try to press from the front again. This time it's Busquets stepping out to Marcelo, and what happens here is that now you find Modric in acres of space in behind Coutinho, in behind Rakitic, and he's able to play that pass into them. Modric is able to receive it. What happens there is that he holds off Rakitic, and he's able to run at the back four, and he slides a pass between the center backs for Bale running across Alba, and he's able to break free, but he fires a tame effort on goal. Besides that, Barcelona were pretty decent in the sense that they were pressing from the front and closing down markers quickly. You saw Coutinho constantly get in towards Nacho. Like I said earlier, Artur and Suarez were stepping to the center backs, and Rafinha was getting to Marcelo stepping in. And with that being said, then you have the front three, and then you have the midfielders dropping off. Most of the time you would see Modric play a bit higher, so Alba would step to him, and you'd see Casemiro and Cruz try to drop in, and that would leave Rakitic and that would leave Busquets able to step towards them. Real Madrid, on the other hand, were also misplacing passes. Sergio Ramos on numerous occasions, giving away the ball around his box, leading to goal-scoring opportunities, forcing Courtois on the saves or shots inches over the net. So the other aspect that Real Madrid really struggled in was the fact that they weren't really good in terms of spacing out the ball and pressing the ball. So we'll get to that next, and we're going to be able to see why they were struggling and give you some examples as to how Barcelona were easily able to bypass them in midfield. When we think about Real Madrid's pressing, one of the first examples that comes to mind is when they shift the ball out to Alba. What happens here is that when the Alba picks up the ball, Isco ended up moving to the right-hand side, swapping flanks with Bale. He comes out to Alba, and Modric step out to Alba. What ends up happening here is that leaves now Artur free, who was pressed by Modric throughout the game, and Alba's able to flick the ball over into him. This creates now a midfield opening for Casemiro and Cruz, and Coutinho is able to drop into that space, and the ball is end up going into Coutinho with Modric tracking him here, and he's able to hold him off. And when he holds him off, you see Benzema dropping off as well, and he's able now, Coutinho, to slide the ball between Benzema and Cruz for Rakitic. Now we have another opening, because now with him getting the ball between the lines, there's Ramos and there's Marcelo, and we see Rafinha making the run into that space. As he makes the run into that space, he looks to cut in on Ramos, but Ramos ends up winning the ball. Does that stem to an opportunity? No, but what happens after that is Ramos ends up clearing the ball into Nacho. He's unable to control it. It falls to Artur, and then he's able to fire a shot that does cause Real Madrid some issues. We look at another opportunity again. This time Benzema forced to shift over to the flanks to cover space, but he jogs over to Roberto. Roberto picks up the ball. He's able to run past him. He's able to skip past Marcelo. Casemiro comes across. He plays the ball into Suarez to bypass Casemiro, gets it back. His touch is heavy, but it falls to Varane, and Varane intercepts it. But again, you're just seeing the ability of them to either run past their markers with ease, Real Madrid not closing down properly, and you could see them easily breaking lines, splitting defenders, and pushing forward as a unit. Yes, Barcelona lacks some cutting edge in these examples, but when we get into the other chances, for the second goal, we see the combination of what they do best, breaking those lines, bypassing Real Madrid's poor pressing, and using Jordi Alba. But first, let's see how Jordi Alba was able to affect the game and why he was such a key cog to Barcelona's dominance in the first half. The other aspect where Barcelona were able to really get ahead, like I said, was Jordi Alba. What they were trying to do here was, like I said, Coutinho running off Nacho, trying to get Alba in behind Bale. We saw in the build-up to the opening goal, it was really easy for them. You see the combination between Rakitic and Busquets, and then Rakitic is able to clip that ball into the left channel for Alba. That was one time where Bale didn't end up tracking him. Coutinho was deep, and he's able to run into the box, and then the pullback for him sees him tap his effort into the net. That was one way that they were going about it. Bale wasn't tracking him. We saw later on in that half or minutes later, where Bale ended up forced to track him based off the fact that Lopetegui was upset. He knew that he had to do a defensive job in that wider role. To let Alba push Barcelona ahead early on wasn't a good sign for them. This time you see Real Madrid's backline a bit shifted out. You have Ramos and you have Varane more towards the left, which only leaves Nacho isolated. What happens there is that you see the run of Coutinho trying to peg back Nacho. Now you have Bale, and what happens here is that you have Artur, who drops off deep to get the ball, and he ends up playing the pass between Bale and Nacho, switches it out to Alba. Alba tries to play the 1-2 with Coutinho, but Bale tracks it well, and he's able to win the ball back and dispossess him, and they were able to push forward. However, that didn't last long. Bale wasn't tracking him throughout the whole game. We saw the switch between Isco and Isco and Bale towards the midway point of the first half, and this is where, again, it hurts them. It's Sergio Roberto just switching the ball out to Busquets. He's able to anticipate the run of Isco trying to press him. He's able to turn him quickly. Now you have a big problem because you have the center backs focused on Suarez. You have Coutinho shifting out, running in behind Nacho. Ball is played into that left space for Alba. Tries to clip the ball for Suarez, just evades Varane and Suarez. Then we get to the second goal. It's a combination of Alba and the fact that Real Madrid's disjointed pressing was bypassed. Stems with Busquets finding Rakitic in between Isco and Cruz. He's able to get the pass, but Ramos steps to him and he slides it out to Rafinha. What happens here is Rafinha is able to skip past Marcelo and he's able to skip past Isco, play it into Suarez, get it back, switch it over to Artur. Coutinho now drops off a bit narrow and he's able to play it to Coutinho. Alba's able to push forward because Bale is too high, and then the ball is shifted out wide because now what we have here is a 2v1. With a 2v1 here, Nacho is too scared to get tight to Alba and he delivers the cross into the box. Suarez runs at it with Varane and Varane takes him out, and that leads to the penalty, and Barcelona are up 2-0 because Suarez converts it. When you break it down, you see Barcelona, they were finding overloads in that side because of Coutinho's movement, which freed up space for Alba, and the fact that Bale and Isco weren't tracking him well, and the fact that their pressing was very poor. They looked disjointed. There were so much space in midfield, and Barcelona's ability to overload the central areas allowed them to exploit that. So now let's get to the second half and see how Real Madrid looked to change the game and what tactical changes Lopetegui made to get them back into the hunt. Lopetegui's change at halftime saw them take off Varane. They moved to more of a 3-4-2-1. With that being said, now you had Nacho, you had Casemiro drop in, and you had Ramos out in center back. You had Lucas Vazquez playing as right wing back, Marcelo moving out to left wing back. This helped out Real Madrid because now it saw the wing backs pushing a bit higher, pegging back the fullback. So we didn't see Alba push forward. We didn't see Roberto push forward. They had the 3 against 3 at the back, but they also were able to create chances out in those wider areas. We saw it in the opening stages. It only took minutes for them to get a goal back. It saw Benzema drop off a bit deeper, slide the ball out to Vazquez. He's 1v1 with Jordi Alba, and what happens there, he's able to play the pass into Isco, darting into that space. Isco darts into that space and instantly slides the ball through the box. Ter Stegen pushes it into the path of Longley, and it falls out to Marcelo, chests it past his marker and fires a superb effort past the keeper. You see that happen. You see how Real Madrid are slowly getting into the game. It wasn't easy for Barca to play out of the back. We look at another opportunity where it's Casemiro able to step forward, and what happens here is that he sees Isco and he's able to play the ball into Isco, who is marked out by Alba. And what happens here is Isco is able to spin around him and play the ball into Vasquez. Vasquez free with acres of space down that right-hand side. He clips the ball into the box. Benzema should do better. He nods his effort over the net. But again, another warning sign for Barcelona. Down the left-hand side, Marcelo's doing the same thing. In the opening stages, you saw him beat two defenders. There's one play in particular. What happens here is we see Barcelona try to press, and what they do is Cruz drops off deeper. You see Suarez and Artur step to him, but what happens here is all Casemiro has to do is just run around the two, and he's able to poke the ball into Casemiro. Now what happens here is that Casemiro is able to find the pass in between Rakitic and Rafinha for Isco dropping off into that space. With Isco dropping off into that space now, he slides the ball out to Marcelo, and then they combine. Isco and Marcelo plays him in, and then he gets the ball back for Isco, but Isco scuffs his shot wide. But again, we're seeing Marcelo being involved. If he wasn't combining with Isco, he beat two markers down that right-hand side in Rafinha and Roberto, which led to an opportunity which saw him bypass Rakitic and lead to an opportunity for Benzema down the left-hand channel. He forced a corner kick as well. That was how they were going about their business. And when they pressed from the front, they stopped Barcelona from playing out of the back. You had the center forwards pushing out into the center backs out in wide areas. You had the wing backs pushing a bit higher. Isco ended up dropping off, and you saw Modric push out to Busquets, and then you'd have Isco and you would have Cruz deal with Artur and Rakitic, and from there they were unable to build out of the back. They were forced into many mistakes. One led to Modric hitting the post. Real Madrid in full control. The only way Barcelona were able to overcome Real Madrid in the second half was down to direct play, because they lost control of the midfield due to Real Madrid's pressure. One of the first instances, we see Rakitic play a deep ball over Marcelo for Sergio Roberto, and he ended up pulling it back for Suarez, who fired his shot off the post. Following that, we saw Rafinha be substituted for Semedo, which pushed Sergio Roberto forward. And then the other change that they did make was that they brought on Dembele for his pace, and they took off Coutinho. From there, what we end up seeing is the build-up to the third goal that ended up killing off the game. It's Alba poking the ball into Dembele, and again, this is with Real Madrid's wingbacks a bit higher, and what stems from that is that it now leads to a 3v3. The 3v3 sees Dembele break forward, he slides it off to Roberto, and then you see Suarez peel in between Nacho and Casemiro to nod a superb header past the keeper. The fourth goal, a Ramos mistake that leads to Suarez being played in free. Then we have Vidal come in and for Artur, and then we see again Dembele taking on Nacho, clipping a ball into the box, and what happens there is that the substitute Asensio, you see Suarez get in between him and Sergio Ramos again to make it 5-1. An emphatic victory from Barcelona. We see them get the overloads down the left-hand side. Jordi Alba was key. Coutinho's movement was key. They overloaded the central areas. They took control of the game. Lopetegui does deserve credit for making amends of that poor first half, changing the system, getting great quality chances, scoring the goal. But again, something is just not right there. Barcelona's quality were able to pay off in the end. They played more direct after weathering a heavy storm, and they were able to crush their opponents, which now puts Lopetegui's fate in the hands of the Real Madrid board, and it doesn't look good for them. But let me know what you guys think. Is Barcelona this much better than Real Madrid? Do Real Madrid have to sack Lopetegui? And what about the title race? Is Real Madrid out of it? Are Barcelona favorites? Meet me in the comments below. Don't forget, I upload videos every day, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And that was your daily dose of the interviews.